Back with the WMAY morning news feed. If you listen to the show for any extended period of time, you know I've been talking about digital currencies for years, ever since Bitcoin first came out. I've been watching that space, and we've talked about it here and there. And listen, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not here to tell you to invest in one thing or the other, but I think that digital currency is absolutely fascinating and could very well be the future of finance. Because if you see a digital currency like Bitcoin and how it's being treated as an asset, not just a currency, but you've got people who are invested in it. And they've seen some pretty incredible gains. Even in the past year, Bitcoin's increased in value 300 plus percent. And you've seen other digital currencies hit the space like Dogecoin. What exactly is a meme coin? Who knows? But Bitcoin is in particular a fascinating one because of its decentralized nature, because of its complete transparency using the blockchain where you can see every transaction, because of the fact that it is not controlled by a central bank or that it's unlimited supply, because it's not. It's going to have a cap of about 21 million Bitcoin, and we're already at like 90% there. About 19 million Bitcoin have been harvested so far. All this might sound like wild tech talk, but to talk more about this and the significance of digital currency, we are now joined by Shidan Gouran. He is the co-founder of Gulf Pearl, a merchant bank. Shidan, thanks for taking time with us on the WMAY morning news feed. We've got some big things to talk about with digital currency, especially with the federal infrastructure bill here in the United States that was just enacted by President Joe Biden. It's going to start implementing a tax on digital currency transactions. Tell us what you know about this.
Yeah, thanks, Rick. So I think with the infrastructure bill, it's just really saying that the space has kind of grown up and it needs to be taxed properly. The infrastructure bill implemented some new measures that exchanges and brokers must take place to report transactions to the IRS. And for people to do so. There's some controversy around it because there's a lot of parties in the space that deal with verifying transactions and doing broker-like activities that are anonymous, really, right? But at the end of the day, that's what a Bitcoin miner does. It verifies transactions on the Bitcoin network. There's no way that a miner, for example, could report to the IRS any meaningful information. And the bill takes into account for Bitcoin miners, but for other cryptocurrencies, it doesn't take things into account necessarily that well, because there's other ways of mining other than Bitcoin's proof of work, for example. Another point that it brings, when exchanges have to report to the IRS, a traditional exchange or broker has a very easy time to figure out your cost basis. In the Bitcoin world, where things can move around from one exchange to another, from one country to another, there's no way to really understand the cost basis of what you're trading. So, what the information they're sending to the IRS will not necessarily be correct, and that's something holders of cryptocurrencies and traders need to consider, and to make sure that the information that was shared with the IRS is the right one. And I'm sure there'll be some points of contention for people and some extra dollars to be spending on accountants and whatnot to do that properly.
So ultimately, what does that mean for those who are currently invested in digital currencies and for those who've been thinking about getting into digital currencies but haven't taken that plunge yet?
Well, it means that what you need to do is really track what you're doing properly, because the IRS is going to have more information than it did, and it's not necessarily going to be correct. So you really have to track things and make sure that you can prove that you bought something at a certain value.
So it's going to be more record keeping, which record keeping of which the people really haven't necessarily been doing if they've been going through, a broker like a Coinbase, for instance, or one of the other types of brokers that are out there when it comes to the digital currency space. We're talking with Shidan Gouran. He is co-founder of Gulf Pearl, a merchant bank that deals in the digital currency space. And the new federal infrastructure bill, including taxing cryptocurrency brokers, and they're looking at possibly getting $28 billion out of that over the next 10 years, but that's just an estimate. Shidan, talk about, I guess, the future of digital currency here. We've got, I don't even know how many. Like, there's what, thousands of different types of digital currencies. Some are considered meme coins, like Dogecoin, or I can't even imagine what there are out there. But what is the future going to be, especially when you see countries like China and the U.S. wanting to regulate this, or possibly even put out some kind of central bank digital currency?
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of people who invest in this space obviously do it for speculative reasons and highly speculative reasons. It's really a form of gambling. There is a group that do it because of really a hedge against the government. It's kind of taken the role of gold from that perspective. So I don't think that a central bank currency would necessarily lower interest in this. They would serve very different purposes. I think what this year has taught us is that the highly speculative nature and the ups and downs are kind of here to stay, and this space is really here to stay. One good example of that is you mentioned meme coins. There was a copy of a meme coin, so it's a meme coin of a meme coin called Shiba Inu that went up more than 4 million%, right? Just in the last few years.
But Shidan, let's be clear. I mean, it went from like a fraction of a cent to a fraction of a cent, right?
It did, but I mean, again, I can give you an example there. I knew somebody that made over $100 million on Shiba Inu just in recent times,
and they
because somebody had just given it to them for free, right? Some of these people who created it just sent it out to people randomly, and so things like this do happen. So I mean it's going to keep the interest of gamblers very much so, and now that genie's out of the bag, it's not going to be put back in, right? This idea of a global, gambling network that's much could potentially be larger than anything that's ever existed is really here to stay. And as far as regulations go, I mean, if things like this bill keep pushing on, what it's going to do is it's going to make startups and small exchanges and whatnot. It's going to make North America look like a much less attractive place to set something like that up. And another point is that now you can actually have exchanges that are completely decentralized. What that means is that every person on the network actually runs a copy of the exchange on their own computer, and there's no intermediary, there's no company. They all sync up with each other and make sure that the transactions are valid. Because I mean, at the end of the day, that's what blockchains do. So, with these decentralized exchanges actually becoming more popular than Coinbase, then it's actually going to, these kinds of regulations push people to build the technology to be even more decentralized and these services to be decentralized. So where this space is going is you're seeing a tremendous amount of development, new applications coming out, as I said, exchanges, but the whole idea of decentralized finance. You're seeing decentralized marketplaces for loans, for digital artworks and whatnot coming out. In the gaming space, you're seeing these tokens really explode. there's a game that actually now has about 4 million people in Southeast Asia playing it and earning more than they would, you know, getting a job. And what they've done is literally these people have quit, and what they do is play this video game, which when you win points and whatnot, gives you a currency that you can convert to assets within the game, which are represented as non-fungible tokens, which are things like a sword or whatnot represented as a cryptocurrency within a game, and they're making hundreds of dollars a month playing this game, right?
Well, and they're also like selling those NFTs to other game players for
exactly that's
real currency.
Yeah. So I mean, the whole idea of the metaverse, my definition of the metaverse is when the virtual world becomes more popular and people spend more time in it than the real world, right?
Ready Player One is rapidly approaching. So do you see digital currencies playing a huge role in the metaverse, in everybody being plugged in and ultimately having to utilize some kind of digital asset?
Exactly. I think that's where we're headed, and even companies like Meta now, who have a real focus on the metaverse, are coming out with their own cryptocurrencies.
Mm-hmm. Well, we'd heard about Facebook with Libra for years, and that never really took off. But I tell you, Shidan Gouran, he is the co-founder of Gulf Pearl. We could go on and on and on and on about this. I appreciate you taking the time. We'll definitely have to connect again in the future because this isn't going away. And I think that there's a lot of aspects you touched on today, including the importance of the decentralization of finance that digital currencies like Bitcoin offer. I mean, those miners out there that are running these machines to facilitate the transactions and to validate the transactions, they're essentially acting like a bank. So everybody can kind of be their own bank when it comes to the digital currencies, but people have to truly understand what they're doing, because if you don't, you can be taken advantage of, and you don't want to wake up with an empty digital currency wallet. Shidan, thank you so much for taking time. We'll talk again in the near future, all right?
Thanks very much, Greg.
It is the WMAY morning news feed at 8:50.